Hey guys, welcome to the garage. Finally made it out here. It's a balmy 25, I think, 20 wind chill. Got the heater cranked up in here. Got it up to like, I think 65 when I looked a little while ago. So good working conditions. We're gonna change the steering wheel out on the side hustle today. I've got a huge punch out list to do on this thing before spring. But we're going to start on the steering wheel today. So this is the side hustle. It's an 86 GT, pretty much all original. Obviously you saw the fatties and skinnies on it. Those are from my 88, actually from my son's 93. Today we're going to do, like I said, we're going to do the steering wheel swap. It has the original steering wheel in it, which I'm not opposed to. I prefer a thicker steering wheel. My wife got me this for Christmas. It's new old stock. I don't think, from what I understand and what I've researched, that they even make this anymore. It was the 8541. And I know when you do look up the 8541, it gives you a different style, but I'm not even sure if it's really what the numbers are for it. I like it because it matches the style of this car. These 85s, 86s, the 84s, back when I was in high school, college, everybody had the Momos or the Ford Racing Performance, I think it was. Sparco, I think, made them. But they were always the suede steering wheels. And they're way too expensive. So I found this. I think it was under 80 bucks. And she picked it up for me for Christmas this year. And then I had to get an adapter, which they still make. Let me see. Yeah, this is the adapter, $32.89. I got this at Jegs. They still make them. I think they still make, but I might be wrong, because they're very limited to find. This is a spacer. It's just a 1-inch spacer that's 4001. I got that at Summit. I couldn't find it anywhere else. A lot of places said they had them, but they weren't in stock, or some of them said no longer available. I don't know if that's true or not, so I jumped on that and got that too. I wanted to do that because the spacer will keep it closer to this dimension. It won't stick out. I've seen a lot of replacements at car shows on the internet and stuff where it sticks way back into there. And I already feel like this thing is far enough forward anyhow, especially when you're banging through the gears on this. As you can see, this is a 5-speed. I kind of like to be up close. And these seats are awesome, but they're so flimsy that when you're really banging on the gears, I just like to be up on top of it. Here's the tools of mass destruction that we're going to use today. At least this is what we're going to start with. Who knows, we might have to get some more out. I'm just going to use a 3/8-inch ratchet for these 3/8 sockets. I've got a 7/16, a 15 mil. These are both 1/8 inch Allen wrenches. I usually like to get both out, just you never know if you need a little extra torque, and these things can be cheap. It's not the first time I've broken them or twisted them, so you never know. I may or may not use the blue Loctite. I don't know. I'm just gonna go by feel as far as how well I feel it's on there. I've really never used Loctite on a steering wheel and not have problems, but now I've said that, now I probably will. So who knows, but I wouldn't go red. Red's, I may want to take this off someday. I may want to put this on the Great White when it's done and get a different steering wheel for this. Who knows? And then of course I've got a wheel puller. It's a pulley, takes off pulleys too, but you can buy them or rent them. I have this one from redoing motors off and on here and there on different cars we've had over the years, my son and I. So I opened up the steering wheel in the kit, cleaned it up a little bit, got the dust off, and this thing is awesome. It's nice and light. Can't wait to get it in there. This is 13.5 inches, I think, and stock is 14.5. This is going to be really nice. I like where it's going to sit and everything. I just held it up to the steering wheel still on the car, and just to kind of get a feel of it, and it's really nice. However, I found a problem. This adapter I'm not using. This is the one that came with it. This is meant to go into earlier cars, 60s, 70s, where the steering wheel sits further out. On the Fox bodies, this is just way too far out, and I'm going to use that 1-inch spacer that I'll show you in a minute here. The horn button won't sit in there and lock in. It's spring loaded, but the hole is too big. Well, it dawned on me, it's meant to have this spacer on there. So that's the problem. I have two options here. I can get on Grant's website, see if they sell a plate or something that goes in between there. Or I can take this, and if you take the boot off here, you can see I could just grind off these flanges. And I think I can do that and grind down the nub that's going to be left there so it doesn't make too much of a space. I am kind of concerned that the thickness is going to show, but it's behind the wheel. I'm getting nitpicky at that point. I also need to drill out these tapped holes, these threaded holes. These are meant to have the steering wheel screwed directly into it. So I'm going to, when you see the spacer has the same threaded holes on it. So I'm going to have to open these up so that those screws can pass through, and make sure that they're long enough to go through there and still clear that. They should. These are tapered down, so it should give plenty of bite. If not, once again, we can use the blue Loctite if we need to. I'm not super concerned. So that's the kit. Now for the adapter plates. The adapter that I was talking about is this right here. As you can see, much thinner than that other one that's what, 2.5, 3 inches thick. This will be really nice. There's the threaded screw holes for the steering wheel. It'll go on something like that. And then that plate would just go between the steering wheel and this. I think it'll work. Now, as for the adapter kit, it came with this hub that attaches to the steering wheel. On the back side has the contact for the horn. I do have to delete my cruise control in this. That is one downfall to this. You can make it work, but it takes a lot of fabrication, and quite frankly, I can count on one hand how many times I've used the cruise control on this, and it hasn't been recently. Where I live, cruise control isn't even an option, and I don't ever take this very far because our cars stay out of the weather. This does have one thing. I noticed on Mike Doula's YouTube, he had used this same adapter plate for his, and he said he'd had problems with this little nub that sticks up from where the horn wires go into this. He ground it down with a file. I started playing with it a little bit with this tiny little file, and I think I'm going to keep going at it. My only fear is that it could break through depending on how good that solder joint is. I don't want to disconnect the horn altogether. He said that it bumps and you can feel it catch. I might just take it down almost all the way, and then that way I feel like I have something there holding that on. I feel like it's thin to begin with already, so we'll see. Here it comes with two plates that you can use. I'm not sure which one I'm going to use. I think just looking at it, it might be this one, the smaller one, but I have the bigger one too. It just depends on how it looks with that trim piece that's on the back there to begin with. It kind of mimics that. I think it's kind of cool that those come with that. Along with this kit, you have some more hardware, some springs. These are more for older vehicles, once again, 60s, 70s, some of the 80s. Different plates that come with horn assemblies. I think some of these can also work with cruise control. It doesn't say that, but I have a feeling that's what it says, or what those could be used for if I wanted to later on. So I think we're almost ready. I'm gonna go ahead and see about grinding that down, and then I'll see you in the car. Hey guys, it's been a minute. It's been a couple minutes. It's been a couple weeks, literally. Life happened. What can I say? In the meantime, I did go ahead and try to solve this whole button issue. I went ahead and modified the adapter plate, and I wasn't happy. It's too thick. Even painted it flat black, you could still see it. It looks bad. But I went on the old interwebs, and look what I found. I found the plate I was looking for. Found it at Summit. It's paper thin compared to the other one. That other one's really super thick. So, of course, I get out here in the garage finally, and the hub's the wrong hub. Somehow they have the wrong hub in that package. The 86 GT, at least mine, I don't know about my 88 or my son's 93, but this 86 is keyed. So this one's keyed. I got something else too, but I'm going to wait until the end of the video to show you that. I'm pretty stoked about it. It's pretty cool. You'll have to wait and see that. In the meantime, let's go ahead and get this thing put on. I'll be back here in a sec. Okay, here we go. First of all, I have the battery disconnected so the horn won't go off, and just in case it shorts out. It probably wouldn't, but I don't want to take the chance. Remember, when you take these off, mine's broken. It just pulls right out. My little piece of zip tie was holding it in place. Yours, you're going to want to have to turn it a little bit and then pull it out if yours isn't broken like mine. This thing is so trashed, I'll never use it again probably. But you can disconnect them here or there. If you're wanting to reuse this sometime or use it on another project, I would recommend disconnecting these back here with a pair of needle nose. I don't care about this horn, so I'm just going to pull them right here. I mean, you can see it's falling apart like crazy. This thing's done. But you're going to want to disconnect your leads, and you're not going to use those anymore unless you reuse this for something else, which, I mean, this is fun. I think this isn't too bad. If I could have somebody recondition it, this thing's done. The next thing is you're going to take your 15 mil and break this loose. Now, mine is going to be easier to take apart. They really aren't hard to take apart anyhow, but you're going to want to hold it steady to remove it. I had to take mine off to see if it was keyed right, and so it's broke loose very easily right now. And it did when I first did it too. It's no big deal. If your steering wheel locks up, it's not that big a deal. You can stick your key back in it if it's really bothering you. But the shaft is keyed anyhow, so it's kind of hard to put it in wrong. So it's really not an issue. Actually, I shouldn't take that all the way out because you're going to want to, I like to use this, and don't put it all the way in, just a few threads, because I don't want the end of my puller pushing on that shaft and marring it or tearing up the threads. Now, I am going to tell you something that can be a headache. I'm using a rental because mine didn't come with the right threaded threads for the shaft or the steering wheel. And I had to hunt them down because this is actually an O'Reilly's one, and it didn't have the right ones in it either. So I ended up running over to the hardware store and got these. These are 5/16 24s is what you're gonna want, and these are 3 inches long. You could probably go shorter. I don't know. I use the 3 inches. The other thing too is if it's this kind of steering wheel puller, or pulley puller in this case, this is a harmonic balancer puller, you're going to want to go and use the slots that are straight across. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to line up on your bolt to remove it. And I guess I had that turned in too far. I'll back it off a little bit. Most steering wheel pullers or harmonic balancers are going to be 3/4 inch socket is what you're going to want to drive the main bolt down into the shaft bolt. These are, I think, 1/2 inch. Yeah, these ended up being 1/2 inch. Probably should have gotten a extension to make this easier, but we're just going quick. You're just going to tighten these. Don't need to go gorilla tight or anything. Just get them in enough threads. I'm just bottoming them out, and then I know there's enough on there. Make sure it's squared up on your bolt, and then this one's nice. It fits. My other one doesn't fit in there like that. That one fits in there nice. Let's see how tight this is. Sometimes they're really hard, and other times they pop right off. Just depends. This time it'll probably be too hard, and I'll have to back off the bolt and take forever to do this. So far, it's not coming off. Almost bottomed out. So yeah, I'm gonna have to back it off and then undo that nut or that bolt some more. No big deal. For those of you who are new to working on cars, this is all part of the game. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's easier, most of the times it's harder. Something's always going to go wrong. Some little thing like this. Just got to be patient, not let it drive you nuts. It's all that more rewarding in the end anyhow. But typically they'll just all of a sudden pop. So maybe we can get it to just pop right away. Watch, the next turn will pop it right off. And come across a project that I need something for it. Would have trashed it already. There we go, see? Barely any turns. And there it goes, popping right off. Go figure. So once you have that off, there's going to be a spring underneath here, and there should be. We'll see what happens here. Open up the crypt and see what's in there. It feels like it's on a spring. Okay, the moment of truth. Yep, it's on there. And it looks like it was time to come off anyhow. You can see where it's just falling apart in my hands. It's time for a new horn. Now let's hope our contacts make it. Yeah, you can see where it was all wearing away, and it's quite a mess. So the next step is to go ahead, take this spring off. With the steering wheel we're using, we don't need it, and it'll actually bind it up if we're not careful. So we don't need this anymore. And I think I'm going to get something to wipe this down and get some of this crud out of here. Because if I don't, when I go and put new carpet in this thing sometime later, all this, my luck, all this stuff will fall down onto it and ruin some nice new carpet. So I'm going to go ahead and take a second to go get something to wipe this up. And I'm not going to bore you with wiping that up. And then we'll pick up where I left off here. So I'll be back in a sec. Okay. So I cleaned it up a little bit. All I did was take some dry paper towel and kind of mop it up a little bit. A lot of this is grease, and I really don't want to take much grease out of there. I just wanted to take the loose stuff out of there. A lot of it was just plastic that had disintegrated from the steering wheel, especially between the contacts of where these rub for the cruise control and the horn. The isolator around there was just crumbling. I mean, even as I just sat it down, it was crumbling. You also notice I just took the contacts and just lightly, until they turned copper again, or clean copper. Don't want to take too much, just enough. I want to make sure I've got that good contact on there. This car usually sits in the garage, heated in the wintertime. In the summertime, it's just normal temperature. But this car never goes out in the rain or anything, so it's never really going to be exposed to much. So this will probably last the life of this car now. So just to clean those up, I could get really crazy, put some dielectric grease on there. I really don't think it's necessary. Now this is one thing that I'm not quite sure what we're going to do here. So we go ahead and put the hub on. It's even labeled top, and like I said, it's keyed. And I don't know if somebody did this or if it was a factory, but it's got a notch in there. I don't recall seeing that on my 88 ever, and my son's 93, I haven't seen it on either. So this goes onto there, and I'm just going to show you. Press it down. It kind of snaps back up because those contacts on the back that are attached to the shaft or the steering column are actually spring loaded, so they're dragging on the back. And remember, I filed the back of this where it drags. It's known to drag. I went and did that to this one too before I put it on as well. Now, this is the dilemma. This kit comes with 2 different size plates, and my son actually came out too. He came home, you know, in between running around with friends and work and everything. He stopped in to check on his old man for a minute, and we were looking at this, and I'm kind of thinking it's kind of in a dilemma here. We ended up figuring this one probably would be the coolest. If you look at this one, and I'm going to do this so that you can get a look at this too, and maybe it'll save you some time, or you can just fast forward through this part. But if you put this on there, at first I was thinking this is probably the one I need to do, but I'm not real fond of. If you see right here, but my concern was once I press this on here with that bolt, you have to remember the spacer's going on there too, and it's pretty thick. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but it's pretty thick. So if it bottoms this thing out, this could be way back in there. It's going to look kind of weird. But this one, it has its own set of problems. So we're just going to try this out. I mean, this is part of working on cars. For those of you who are new to working on cars, this is part of it. Little things like this can make a big difference. If you notice, I think it looks better like that. But my fear is it going to rub and catch on this bezel? It does feel as though there's enough lip that, and this does bevel in, and this doesn't bevel in, it just kind of goes out, so it could clear it. I just think it's going to look better that way, and my son was thinking the same thing. So worst case scenario, I'm taking this back off and putting the smaller one on. But I think for now we're going to go for this. So these just thread through there. This kit is really nice. I mean, it's pretty much self-explanatory. You really don't even have to look at the directions. So there we go. And then we're going to go ahead and put the spacer on. Don't panic, by the way. Some of your, oh my gosh, it's off center. Well, this actually, I was looking at that too. It should straighten it all up once you line all these different components up. It should be fine. So you just keep threading it through these. I really am happy with the quality of these parts. I'm excited to see this thing put together. I lost my bearings as to where my holes were. Too many pieces going together at once. So there we go. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and take the supplied bolts for these and get them finger tight before we put that main steering shaft bolt on. I'd rather have all of this be one piece and then cinch all of it together at one time with the bolt to the shaft, the steering shaft. Okay, so biggest issue with this, of course, I bragged about how nice the quality is, and then that happens. But because the quality is so good, that's the issue. This is so thick that you don't have much play. So what I ended up doing is just taking this one out, doing this one first, and it almost went right in. I did switch to a 1/4 inch, but like I said, that's part of working on cars. Little things like that get annoying, but you know, then once you solve it, just little tricks like that, that's all it takes. Patience and a little humility. So there we go. We got that. I'm just going to cinch these up so that they're all one piece. This bezel, the spacer, and the hub. And then we'll go ahead and cinch down the actual steering shaft bolt. I'm taking caution not to put too much twist and bend on these wires too. There is no torque spec on these bolts, so I'm just sitting there taking them down. In fact, I'll just get a little more leverage, get my 3/8 inch driver on here just to get a little more leverage. The likelihood of all three of them. See, you can see that's just not, it's fighting it. It's not even worth it. So there, when you do this, don't use your 3/8. Use your 1/4 inch driver. And there we go. So next step, actually put the steering wheel on after this nut. So let's see. I'm gonna cinch this down and see if we clear this. I think we should be good. If anything, it's gonna catch right there. But I could also, I mean, worst case scenario is just take this off and file it down a little bit. The plastic's underneath there. You're not gonna see it. So we'll figure it out as we go. Now, I'm just tightening this right now. I'm gonna tighten it as, I don't want to say as tight as I could get, because you can go gorilla tight on these things and it's just too much. I'm gonna go tight. Like right now it gave me a little bit of resistance, but I'm not really putting much on it. There, it's just starting to get a little more resistance. So now I'm gonna go ahead, and I do know the torque spec on this is 20 to 35 foot-pounds. So I'm just gonna check it and see what it breaks at, or where it's at right now. I have this set at, I think I set this at 30 or 25 just to see, and we'll see what happens. see, there's still quite a bit left in there. At this point, I'm going to go back and take it back to 20 just to see what we got going on here. So I'll back it down to 20 and see if it cracks at that. And it cracks at 20. See, so I'm feeling pretty good. Now we won't know if we didn't bind up or not. I mean, that thing's on there tight. I'm feeling good about that. I did not use Loctite on this because this is the threads on this already have factory blue on them, so I think it should be fine. You know when it starts to get loose anyhow, it'll have play in it. If you've ever had one go loose. Okay, the moment of truth. Let's see. First, we've got to stick that little plate. The plate, it caused all this to slow down in the first place, which was good anyhow, because remember, we ended up having the wrong hub anyhow. So that would have stopped us that night anyhow if we'd gotten to that point. So here we go. Okay, I am not putting the horn on yet, so that if I have to, I can get back in there. But I'm going to start with this top one. And these are all Allen heads. And that first one, I'll just finger tight a little bit. I don't recall, I know I showed at the beginning of the video, I showed the sizes of these. I think it was 3/8. I can't remember if it says it on here, or 1/8 I mean. Yeah, 1/8. It's 1/8. So, man, this thing looks so cool. Yeah, it looks cool already. This is cool. I love this thing. Maybe this isn't your cup of tea, but you can at least see how a Grant steering wheel goes on. I don't know about Momo and the Sparkos and the MPIs or, but it's probably pretty similar. Yeah, this is looking so cool. Oh wow, that bezel's good too. So far, it's tight down here, tight over here, but it doesn't feel like, and who knows, after driving a little bit, the rubbing will wear it down to where we don't even notice anyhow. Plastic and metal meeting, usually the metal wins, so time will tell. Now obviously these just go as tight as you can go. I mean, there's 5 of them. You're gonna know when one of them's coming loose. They're not gonna all come loose at one time. So, yeah, that looks so good. Oh wow, that is cool. Now I'm just gonna cross these. For those of you who are new to working on cars, typically when you tighten something in a circle like this, just like your lug nuts on a car, and maybe you don't know that yet, but you should always crisscross. When you first put them on, you don't really have to, but when you're gonna actually tighten them down or torque things down, you should always go in a crisscross pattern, just crossing across. Since this is 5 of them, or if you're doing lug nuts, same thing. Kind of think of a star pattern, draw a star with it, and then that way you've got even pressure cinching it down. Now, if you've ever used these T-handled Allen wrenches, they twist a lot. So I'm just going to, last thing, just to be safe, hit it with a standard, and see it still gives a little bit. But like I said, these aren't going to all come loose at once and you're driving down the street with no steering wheel. I got to come back up on that one. It's too close to the wheel. I didn't want to nick the suede. Okay, there we go. So now we just go ahead and put the horn on, but this is what I've been saving for last. So I lucked out. When I bought this, it came with a new horn. So this is what I picked. I'm digging it. I think it looks cool. Check that out. They also had one that had the Ford emblem on it, which I thought, hey, you know, like the original, kind of a, and it's a little bit bigger than that, but I was like, I don't know, I think that's pretty cool. So that's what we're going with. I'm digging it. Okay, now. These don't, it doesn't matter which one it goes to. So I'm just gonna try to get it to where this is gonna sit like this. It just make it so it kind of swoops in natural on it. I like to try to have it swoop naturally, and then that way you're not putting unnecessary torque on it and end up breaking a wire. Now, with that in mind, see how this is almost touching this ring? You want to make sure that you not let it touch that ring, because you don't want it to short out. And I also just realized I forgot to do this because I was going to save this for you guys to see. When you have a 2-wire horn, on any of these horn buttons, same as this one, same thing, you want to pull this out as far as you can, because that's your ground, okay? So on a horn, it only has one lead. That ground, it'll ground to the steering wheel. You don't want that on this. So you have to cut, basically pull this out as far as it'll go, and where it basically goes into the base of the horn, you cut it with a pair of wire snips, or tin snips, or whatever you have. They say basically 1/4 of an inch. I'm going a little bit further because I don't want any chance of that touching. So, of course, I don't have my snips in here. I've got every tool imaginable in here, but I don't have that. So I'm going to go ahead and get my tin snips. I think tin snips will be easiest. I've got a pair of junk tin snips that I always keep out in the garage instead of ruining my good wire cutters on this, because that's pretty heavy gauge. I'm going to go ahead and cut that off, and we'll be right back. So basically all you're doing, like I said, get your placement and then think about how's it going to flow into there properly, so you're not going to twist things too much. I think for this, I'm just going to go in on this bottom one, and yeah, I'll probably just go sideways on this, because I'm going to end up coming straight out of these, I think, because you don't want them touching the side of the steering wheel either, and these leads are really, really long. So we'll go like this. I'll just kind of gauge where it's going to go. Make sure they're not touching the side of the steering wheel or anything, or the bottom, or that bolt. There we go. That looks good. Now I got all my grease and grime on it. That looks really good. We can go ahead, put the keys in. Yep, it steers. Now remember, I don't have full steer because my car is sitting on cribs, so it's stopping it from going. But you'll know, even if it was on cribs like this, right away if you've got it too tight. But I do hear something rubbing, and that could be, it could be that hub. We'll just have to take a look at it. I may have to grind it down a little bit more with a file, but I can see what, I can hear that pop. So it may need to be even more flush. But we can test that in the spring. No big deal, I'm still happy with this. So we're gonna go ahead and hook up the battery and test the horn real quick. See you back in a second. Okay, final test. Let's see if it honks. Horn works, that's awesome. I like the way it turned out. I'm happy with this. I do have one confession. I bought the Ford one too, just in case. What can I say? Maybe we might change it out sometime. Maybe it can go on the Great White when it's done. I don't know. But I like it on this. It matches the era of this car. Well, until next time, I hope you get to get out in your garage too.